Rajesh. I know you like wearing rings. You do, right?
Right.
So I got you the rings from my collection.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Try it out.
Thank you.
Fine.
I think it's okay now. Voice is okay now.
Yes, it's okay
Yeah,
now.
voice is out.
Okay, okay. So we will start from the inputs directly. No, so instead of introduction and all these things, we'll directly start with the subject. So I will share the screen now. So once you so you can see the screen.
Yes.
Okay, mainly organic farming, the principles are the first thing is crop rotation, that is use of the
Pongal gift.
best combination of the crops. Uh, example, cereals with the pulses, and also like the trap crops, companion crops, and also like crop rotation. Once you are doing this, next crop you need to use the crop which will restore the soil fertility. So one crop will take out the fertility, the next crop should restore the soil fertility. And also there are a lot of cropping systems like catch crops. If there is a shortage of season, you can then you have to use the catch crops. Those are which will just adjust for the season. If there is a short duration of season, like in summer and after curry crop, they will usually go for that. So like this, there are crop systems that also very important in organic farming. You have to know the importance of cropping system. Then only you can understand the organic farming. So next is the inputs. Because in agriculture, inputs are very important. That is the main area which will decide your profitability. Like if you don't have sufficient knowledge and control over what you are using in crop production, then you cannot achieve your end goals. So you have to have thorough information about the inputs. The inputs mainly are capital inputs and like variable inputs. So inputs mainly consist of the seeds, fertilizers, plant production materials, and like that. It will mainly consist of the fertilizers and pesticides, labor. Uh, uh, these will take out maximum of the cost required for agriculture. So we will discuss about the inputs today. So first thing about the fertilizers. So fertilizers is we know soil is already yesterday is already discussed also. Soil is already having sufficient quantity of the nutrients, but sometimes it may not be available to the crops and it may not be available near to the crop zone. So we call it as the like root zone, rhizosphere, the space surrounding the crops is the rhizosphere. If the nutrients is available near the rhizosphere, then crop can take. If it is not within the rhizosphere, so crops cannot take the nutrients even though it is available in the soil. So that is also important. The addition of nutrients should be within the roots, at least 1.5 meter within the root zone. And also the root system also you need to understand. The some crops will have the deep root system, some crops will have the shallow root system. So that is also important. Based on the crop rooting pattern, you have to add the nutrients at exact the depth within the soil. So that is also important. First thing is the cropping system. So second thing is the planning the inputs, because the difference between organic and chemical is in chemical farming there is no planning. So if you want to start agriculture tomorrow, so it's very easy. You can buy everything if you have sufficient money, and you can finish the planting within 1 or 2 days, and your job is over. But in organic farming, it's not like that. You have to plan it from beginning. So if you want to make your compost, it has to be planned at least 60 to 70 days, at least 3 months before the farming, actual farming. Because compost will take, production of compost will take minimum 50 to 60 days up to 90 days. So in organic farming, the planning is very important and knowledge is also very important. In chemical farming, there is no knowledge required because everything is artificial. Everything is you have to purchase and use it. In organic farming, the main difference is it will you have to have you have to organize your own inputs, your own seeds, and you have to maximum so use the local resources only, and this is the difference. And the selection of the crops also is important. Everything is not suitable in organic farming, and no one will force to take up organic farming anyone. It's only because of the present situation, low yields, and increasing cost of the farm inputs. We can see last year there was a very shortage of urea, and also there is a study report which says that by 2050 there will be shortage of the DAP, because only the raw material for DAP production is not much. Rock phosphate, there is shortage every year. It is decreasing. Only few countries are supplying, and if they stop, because we are maximum 100%, 98% we are importing the DAP. We are not producing uh, because we don't have the sufficient raw material in India. That is the problem. Because of these factors, the and other factor is government may take out the subsidy part anytime. Because of government subsidy, farmers are getting at cheaper rates. Once government takes out the subsidy, the rate will almost double, even it may triple. So that is the scenario in another 5 to 10 years, because this is the right stage. People will slowly realize, because today we are in a stage where a lot of people don't have much knowledge. We have to teach them everything. So this is the scenario, because these are the important nutrients like NPK. They are called major nutrients. We will discuss about it. uh, this is the important, because we are not forcing anyone for organic farming. It's only a practices every farmer must know at least, and some of these methods they must adapt if they are the farmer, because these are very much required. And we know the availability of the land is decreasing every year because of the urbanization and the problematic soils, because of addition of the land is decreasing every year and population is increasing, and we are putting much pressure on the soil every year. Some soils already becoming barren, they are becoming low productive. There are problems at country level also. So we will then go for the mulching. Mulching is the crop nutrient management. So crop nutrient management mainly consists of, the first thing is the mulching. This is if you are already in agriculture, there are two important processes which are feeding the world and keeping the uh, world at balance. Is the first thing is photosynthesis, second thing is decomposition. If these two processes are not happening one day, at least if they stop for one day, then whole world will stand still. So these two are the important processes. So those are feeding the world and they are balancing the world. The photosynthesis, which will produce the foods within the plants, and decomposition, which will it will uh, the whatever the waste material, dead, the debris, buried materials. So this is the process which will decompose the waste materials. So these are the two important processes. So for decomposition, the material is which plant and animal based materials, which are easily degradable when applied within the soil. So this is the mulching is the purpose is only to cover the upper layer of the soil with a layer of plant debris or dried leaves, or like cocoa peat. Some people will use cocoa peat, and also few will use the forest soil also. So the purpose is to conserve the water, because we also know there is shortage of water in agriculture, because India is dry land, rain-fed based agriculture system, and in Karnataka itself, it's 60 to 70% land is depending on the right plant only. So this mulching will at least preserve the soil moisture. So it will retain the soil moisture, and it will add the organic matter to the soil. So, mulching materials, with whatever the material which is easily degradable, it should be plant or animal based only. So, and the plastic mulching is also allowed in organic agriculture, but it has to be removed after its use. After the crop cycle, it has to be removed immediately. So manuring, in manuring, uh, there are processes like but there are menus and fertilizer. We call it as menus and fertilizers. Menus are bulky materials, because these will be bulky in nature, and organic fertilizers will be concentrated. They will have some concentrated amount of nutrients. So all the menus, we will add them. These are the manures and fertilizers. So manures and difference between manures and fertilizers is manures are bulky in nature. So they will be like you put at one place, and once in a year or once in a season they will be transported to the main field. They applied when they are composted. So we call it as farmyard manure. So this is a common practice everywhere. So it will be collected and added to the soil. And other manures are sheep manure. These are commonly used manures. Goat manure, compost, vermicompost, green manures. So biomass like a forest, coastal sites, they will collect the forest dry leaves and they will add it to the soil. And some liquid fertilizers, they are different. We will discuss about it like Jivamrut, Bijamrut, Panchagavya. Most of will be based on the cow urine, cow dung, and cow products and herbal based preparations. So we will discuss about this, all these. So is it okay now? Hello.
Yeah, I can see the presentation.
Yeah, is it okay now?
Mhm.
Okay, we will continue.
Yeah.
Concentrated organic fertilizers are oil based, mainly consists of neem oil, Pongamia, Mongoke.
Voice is not coming clear, Mr. Shukla.
Voices.
Your voice is not coming clear. It's coming broken.
I'm checking it. So is it okay now?
Something else also in the background. As you keep talking, breaking. When you say, is it okay now? It seems okay. But both.
Yeah, I think now it's okay.
No, you're not clear. It's breaking.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, now these are the list of the inputs. Poultry menu concentrated and bone meals. These are also because this is also available. So this is also another source of nutrient. So phosphate rich organic manure. This is introduced in 2016. So we'll discuss about the
Lost you in between.
hello.
Your screen is not there. Oh, we lost you in between and we can't see your screen now.
Okay. So is it okay now?
Yes.
Okay. So uh, these are the list of the manures and fertilizers most commonly used. So the most commonly used is the vermicompost. All of you mostly know about the vermicompost. What is vermicompost? And this is the like compost only. But after, during the process of composting, they will introduce earthworms. So earthworms which will feed on the material which is already off decayed material, they will feed on the off decayed material, and they will enrich the compost. They will add, they will take, they will feed on the decaying material. So one, they will enrich the compost with the nutrients and plant growth promoting substances. So for vermicompost, it has to be like pit need to be prepared, or it is to be in a controlled environment, because there are like earthworms cannot survive outside, because uh, they will have a lot of enemies like ants, rats, snakes, uh, even the birds. They will eat on the earthworms. So for that, you need to provide the uh, that protected environment. Like pit is preferred. Usually it has to be 1 meter height and width, and length can be anything, like it can be from 5 meter to 15 meter also. So height should be minimized, maximum 1 meter. So material has to be added layer by layer. Like below layer will be the earth bed, earthworm bed. It will, you can add some pieces of the bricks, roasted bricks. You can make into pieces and add or papers. Paper is also a good earthworm bed material, or some dried leaves or fine compost. Some up to 1.5 centimeter is enough. So bottom layer should be earth, the, the, the earthworm bed, where they will go, and that is the breeding area. So earthworm will reproduce once in every 20 days. So it will become, if you are starting with 1 kg, within 1 month you can have up to 2 kg, 3 kg, based on the environment. So if you maintain good moisture, shade, and there is a good material added, so earthworms will multiply quickly. So this is the process. So it has to, you can add anything like kitchen waste, uh, vegetable fruits waste, even the dried leaves, paper. But some material you have to avoid, like metals, glasses, plastic, some electronic materials. These materials need to be avoided, because earthworms are very sensitive to these materials. So otherwise, you can add any material; it is easily degradable. So compost will be uh, ready in almost 2 months to 3 months. So once it is ready, so we have to stop watering, because for earthworms you have to water regularly. Moisture should be maintained at 50 to 60%. So once it is ready, you have to stop watering. Then earthworms will go down. Then you can take out the top layer, and if you make a heap, so you can like if still there are earthworms in the compost, you can make a cow dung ball and keep inside the compost. The earthworms will go inside the cow dung, and you can take those cow dung balls and put it back to the pit, and the compost you can use it. You can enrich further and you can use it. So second thing is most commonly used green manures, as yesterday discussed. So green manures are also commonly used in our system. So there are a lot of green manure crops. We call it as, there are two types which will be grown within the same crop, that agriculture field, and it will be so plowed back to the soil within 40 days before flowering. Those are in situ green manuring. And if in situ green manuring is not possible, you can go for the outside collection, like from ancient times. Our farmers used to collect lot of green manure materials from nearby forest, and they were adding to the cow sheds, cow uh, bed, they were adding for the cow, uh, like bedding material, and every morning they were taking out, and it was composted and added to the agriculture field. So there are two options. Those are two also. It will enrich the soil physical properties. So that will improve the soil health, and also it will improve the soil productivity. That soil will become fertile, and crop yield will directly depends on the these kind of practices. So if it is disconnecting, you can again connect to the same link. So green manures we have different types like sesame and encha. These are the commonly used and leguminous. Most of the legumes like gram, green gram, even so. So green manures, I think it is very simple. Only you have to add regularly whenever possible. So next is other inputs like I told, even poultry manure, sheep manure, goat manure is available, fish manure, and also lot of manures are available. Those can be used, but you have to be careful because with the sheep manure and poultry manure, there is some knowledge required before use because poultry manure is rich in potassium, but it has to be composted well before adding to the uh, agriculture field. Uh, it has to be added in like before, well before the planting. Should not be added directly to the crop. Better not to add directly to the crops, or it has to be added well before, or it has to be added at least some distance away from the root zone or from the stem like that, because it will have burning effect on the crops, or it has to be composted with or it has to be mixed with the compost before adding it to the soil. So sheep manure also it has to be well composted before because they will have a lot of heat inside. So that is the problem. You have to be careful while adding the sheep manure, goat manure, or poultry manure. So remaining oil cakes, so the oil cakes will come with dual benefits. They will provide nutrients also, little quantity of nutrients, and they will act as a pest repellents because pangamia cake is very good compared to neem cake. Little quantity is enough. Even 100 kg per acre is sufficient. So it will minimize the pest effect and also diseases. So enrichment we will discuss later. So this is the FOM. So biofertilizers. Yesterday also discussed about it. So biofertilizers. These are the microbial based preparations. It is nothing new. Only we are because nowadays because of the use of the external inputs, because we know synthetic chemicals, uh, many of 90% of farmers don't know, because when we are adding the synthetic chemicals like urea, it is only having 46% nitrogen. Remaining 45% is inert material. That is no use for the soil or the crops. It is simply accumulating in the soil and it is affecting the soil properties. So if it is accumulating continuously, the soil layer, it will create a layer inside the soil that is called the, it will become very hard, and that will create the problem like the aeration will stop. The root zone cannot go deeply in the soil. That is the problem. So because of that, that will directly affect the microbial population in the soil also. So for that, you can use the biofertilizers. Like the biofertilizers are classified like bio nitrogen based fertilizers, phosphorus based fertilizers, and then potassium based fertilizer. Bio NPK, zinc based fertilizer is available. Even silica is available. So based on the requirement, you can use even half kg is enough per acre. If you are using, so anyway, anytime if you are going for any input, so liquid based inputs are better than the solids, because in biofertilizers or any input, 95% will be that carrier material only. Only 5% are in solids. It's only 0.5 to 1.5 to maximum 2% is the active material. but in liquid it's still more. That's why always, even if it is costly, you can go for the liquid based materials. So biofertilizers, there is nothing new. The usage also is very simple. If you are using the granule based products, you have to mix with the compost. So mix with some 100 kg or even 500 kg of compost, whatever available. If compost is not available, you can use the fresh or some rotten cow dung. Or if it is even cow dung is also not available, you can use the red soil or black soil. Red soil will be better. So you can add some jaggery, whatever, at least half kg old jaggery, or even, and also some any pulse material like gram dal or even red gram dal. If it is any old or unused dal flour is available, you can add the flour also. So you have to leave it for 10 days, then mix it well, add some water. After 10-15 days, you can add directly to the, you can apply on the soil. This is very simple for all the like biofertilizer, biopesticides. This is the method, there is no other methods. So biofertilizers, there are list is available, like most commonly used azospirillum, azotobacter, and PSB, potash solubilizers, mobilizing bacteria, Pseudomonas, Trichoderma, like Viridae and Argenium are the two other species. Based on some specific cross-specific biopesticides also available, biofertilizer. Even for pulses, they will prefer rhizobium. Even within the rhizobium, there are different species, crop-specific. For soybean, there is a different species. For pigeon pea or red gum, there is a separate species. You have to use separately. You have to inoculate, and overnight you have to mix seed treatment. You can use it for seed treatment also. So so you have to treat on the surface of the seed overnight, and next day you can take up the planting. So this is about the biofertilizers. So treatment is very simple. You can add biofertilizers, and like I said, you can mix with some jaggery and the dal flour, and some even charcoal is available. You can use that also, because all carrier material mostly will be based on the charcoal powder or some lignite powder, if it is a granular, or if it is liquid, it will be based on the glycerin only.